Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're taking a look at Gaming News Consolidated. This is for 2 weeks. This is July 28th through August 10th. I know it's a few weeks, but I did have a vacation and all that good stuff, and it was good, and it's just good to remember, folks, to take time to rest for yourselves. It's so important to do that, even if it's just small or minimal or even doesn't even really cost any money or anything. It's so important to be able to do that. So let me just see if I can check my audio here. This is my second attempt. The audio was not good. So I'm just trying to see if the audio is good. Sounds pretty good. Testing 1 2 3. 1 2 3. Sounds pretty good. Testing 1 2 3. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, as I said before, this is gaming news for 2 weeks. Again, vacation was good. Take rest for yourself. That's so important. And yeah, of course, with 2 weeks, we have a lot to actually cover and discuss. So strap in. And of course, if you're listening to this, while you're going through your work shift or while you're commuting or doing chores or whatever else, this is just more of a podcast. You can just listen to this. There's really nothing to see on the screen. And but I thought showing black would be good. But hey, let's go ahead and get into it. So 7 Days to Die finally has an official release. Early release was 11 years and 7 months ago for the original. It's amazing it's been that long, but we finally have our official release. I think this is the longest time it's been in, quote, early access or early release or beta, whatever we'd want to call it. But yeah, 11, almost 12 years, that is pretty flippin' insane. And of course, if you did buy it, if you did buy it earlier, it's not going to work with their current release today for current gen, and that kind of sucks. So yeah, you got to buy it again, which now I think it's $40 or $50 to buy the official release of the game, and it still isn't perfect, but they'll continue to work on bugs and stuff like that. It's not like it's the end of the world. But yeah, it is on the store now if you're interested in looking into it. And again, this is version 1.0. And again, we also have to remember this is a really small team of devs. They finally are over 25 people that are working on this game. And the game is huge, and there's a lot of different aspects to it. And it's going to take a long time to actually pump this game out. And two, I would also imagine updates as well. And there's no mass data for reviews yet on Metacritic because it looks back to the original one that was released again almost, back in 2016. But yeah, the reviews, are all the way back then, which I guess there was an official launch of some sort back in 2016. But yeah, it's just amazing how long it's been. So if we'll get actual mass data reviews, the best thing would probably be just like your console store or Steam or whatever. Just look it up directly. But yeah, they're finally having their official launch, which is wonderful. The SAG is on strike again for voice acting. First, it was for AI art and that kind of thing, and a little bit of voice acting. Well, now they're striking again just for actual AI use for voices. We're at a point now where you can record somebody's voice. You can have, thousands or tens of thousands of words and lines, and they can basically buy your voice now one time, and then they can use it forever. And I guess they've actually done this with one of the famous announcers, and it's just kind of shocking to me. It's like they can now just record voices, and then you use AI to, with a large language model, and then just have, your voice say whatever you want to say and not actually have it be you. And it sounds pretty good because it is actually somebody's voice, but it's not actually them. And so this is a way, too, to use the same voice forever, even after somebody has passed. And, I mean, just think of that. Just think of being able to have the rights to somebody's voice. I'm not sure if I really like that very much because there's a lot of, nefarious things you could do with that. And two, as this technology gets better, as the ability to record gets better, there's also just more fraud or just more misinformation that could be shoved out there. And that would be awful. I mean, imagine if it was the President of the United States or the President or Prime Minister of your country, or a family member. I mean, all sorts of stuff. And there's all of the voice data really we need out there for free, thanks to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, TikTok. There's so many voice stuff, or even this channel. Like, you could just record my voice and just use my voice for whatever. I mean, it's eventually I think we are getting closer to that reality. But yeah, also, too, this brings up, why they're striking. Why pay a voice actor when you have when you have already several voices you've already paid for? You just have the data and you just have the ability to just use those voices instead of paying for a voice actor every time, instead of having to deal with people, which the biggest expense for any company, folks, is the employees, because we need time off, we need sick leave, there's workman's comp, there's retirement, there's other, healthcare benefits, all of that stuff. And yeah, why pay for an actual person when you can just have a person's voice? It's way cheaper. And honestly, I think they're going to go that way. So the issue too with any game dev before September 23 is that all of these games are exempt from the strike itself. And so you got GTA 6, Doom, The Dark Crusade, Elder Scrolls 6, Fable, Splinter Cell, Assassin's Creed, Shadows, any other Assassin's Creed that's currently in development. So again, any game that's currently in development before September of last year is exempt from striking. So I don't see how this could really have a big effect on the strike. It might actually be too late for people, because while we were making fun of AI and all that kind of stuff back then, last year, we did do some striking last year, but I don't think it was as big of an effect. If they wanted to have it be more of an effect against using AI for XYZ, they should have been doing it a heck of a lot more last year, or even the year before when it was first initially being used. Because a lot of these games, they take, 6 years or more now, and that exempts a ton of games, like all the way to 2027 maybe, or even 2028. And that is just insane. I mean, a lot of these people can't strike or try to ultimately save their job in the future, or other people's jobs in the future. And ultimately, folks, if you're thinking of doing something related to voice acting or related to some other industry where AI is having massive use, I highly suggest just saying no. I mean, you can follow your dreams if you want, but boy, if you already thought it was a hard road, it's going to get a lot harder. Starting today, because you're just going to be fighting all this AI stuff. So let's read some data sheets from the World Economic Forum. They keep track of stuff throughout the year, but this is crazy. So these are the jobs that are most going to be affected, that are going to be automated with AI programs of some level, and the percentage of them. So we're looking at banking, 54%. Insurance, 48%. We're also looking at energy, 43%. Capital markets, 40%. Software and platforms, 36%. Retail, 34%. Communications and media, 33%. I mean, as you can see, automation with programs is going to have a massive effect by the end of the decade. And there's going to be a lot of outsourcing jobs to programs, and it's just we can't really change that. Augmentation too. There's going to be this is where augmentation is, that you're going to have to learn how to use these programs and actually order to keep your job or get a job, because you're going to be using cooperatively with programs to generate whatever your task or job is. And the biggest one is actually, again, software and platforms at 21%. And quite a few of them are actually in the teens. And so this is stuff we got to think about with the risk to the job. And again, this isn't just if you're a software engineer or something like that. This is even just if you're in banking, if you're a teller, if you're somebody that deals with energy or industry or healthcare, public services, retail, high-tech, travel. I mean, the list goes on. And if you guys wish, I'll see if I can get a picture of this actually and post it up on my feed on YouTube at Gaming Garbage 22. But yeah, it is just insane to think about. Something too was I wanted to read this is the top 10 fastest declining jobs. And again, the number one is bank teller and retail related clerks. Postal service clerks, cashiers and ticket clerks, data entry, administrative and executive secretaries, material recording and stock keeping, accounting, bookkeeping, payroll, legislatures and officials, which is kind of insane, statistical, financial, and insurance, and then door-to-door sales workers, news and street vendors, and related workers. Those are the fastest declining jobs right now. Now, some of that has to do, of course, with the economy, but the bulk of this is saying that, yeah, this is stuff that AI is affecting now, is that these lower-level positions are just getting removed. And so, folks, if you're starting out in the workforce or going to be shortly, you have to think about, okay, what actual skills do you have? And there is going to be a bulk of a generation that's really going to be screwed during this transition because they're preparing for a future that isn't going to exist. It's not going to be the same job market. It's going to shift literally before your eyes. And that's crazy. The top 10 fastest growing jobs: AI and machine learning specialists, sustainability specialists, business intelligence analysts, information security, fintech engineers, data analysts and scientists, robotic engineers. I thought that one was coming interesting because that is coming too. Robotics, electrotechnology engineers, agricultural equipment operators, digital transformation specialists. So again, a lot of these are going to be building the things that are going to be replacing these jobs or augmenting, to work with these machines and programs. And then, yeah, robotics is on there too. So again, maybe in another decade, a couple decades, we're going to be having more robotics. And we got to think about that too. So, from now until retirement, things are going to shift for everybody. And you got to think about what your future is going to look like. Or if you have a business, okay, how you're going to stay competitive. Because if maybe you're not going to change things, but maybe your competitors will. And they're going to be able to have lower cost of overhead and have a cheaper operating expenses than you. And again, how do you compete? You got to think about this kind of stuff. Also, the portion of tasks done by humans versus machines. I thought this was interesting, too. In 2022, 34% were done by machines, and expected by 2027, at its current trend, 43% will be done by machines. And so by the next decade, like 2031, we're going to be around 50-50, which is insane. There's some things that could accelerate that. There's some things that could slow that down. But generally speaking, by 2031, around 50% of all tasks done by humans, generally for work, are going to be done by machines. Around the world. This is not just like the United States or some other country. This is around the world, folks. But still, I think it's pretty crazy. And, the reason I keep covering this stuff is because our futures matter, don't they? Of course they do. Of course they matter. Yeah, I just think that's wild. Also, too, Stalker 2 is delayed. Now it'll be again, actually. This is like the third time. Now we're going to get it on November 20th of 2024, still at the end of this year. But, yeah, the original devs have been from Ukraine. They've had to deal with the war since 2022. They've had to move. They've also lost some data and drives and stuff. They've also lost some devs themselves. They've lost some people to this war. And, yeah, they've had to move multiple times. They're working in another country right now. I think it's the Czech Republic. But, yeah, this will be a game that will be on Game Pass at launch. And we'll show it here on the channel because I'm really interested to see how they make it. And I might have a little bit of bias because they've had to deal with this war. It's nothing they voted for. Bigger powers did, unfortunately, but they're just having to live with the consequences. So if there are some bugs, if there's some issues, I'm willing to overlook some of those because their development process has just been such a bear. It's just been absolutely horrible. We're having a BioShock movie, but unfortunately now it's going to have a smaller budget, according to Netflix. Netflix film chief ended up getting a replacement. It used to be Scott Stubb, Stubber, excuse me, and now it's Dan Lin. And Dan is saying, look, this is going to be a drastically smaller budget that you have to work with, and that's just how it's going to be. So they're having to completely shift the film. It's going to be more of a personal point of view compared to a big project like they were planning on. And then, honestly, this doesn't sound good. Small projects won't bring in new subscribers for a subscription service platform, and also having to transition from a huge project to a smaller one. They're having to probably rewrite the script. They're having to redo the sets. There's a lot of they're basically scrapping the entire project and just starting over from scratch, which is wild. They also need less people on the set too, because again, people are money, and yeah, that is just wild. So I don't think BioShock is going to be a super big revenue revenue gainer for Netflix. I don't think it's going to do that great. I am curious how it's going to go. I mean, any adaptations that I can do here on the channel, I will do because I'm curious, and I think it's going to become more common as well. Been talking about that for about 6 months now, and it's a concern of mine is that some of these companies are going to focus more on just making movies, making TV shows, instead of actually making games, because they'll see it as less risky. But unfortunately, it's not. Let's get into Borderlands Movie. This is just something I watched myself with Lion. We had a good time, but this movie is definitely an F. Save your money. There's lots of issues with it. So, yeah, there is a separate, kind of more fuller review coming from the channel, but ultimately I'll just say they spent $120 million on making this film, and that includes some reshoots and stuff, and opening weekend is $4 million. So, yeah, they're not going to make their money back. This will be tens of millions of dollars as a write-off. For the company, because, yeah, they're not going to be making any money. And again, it's like, yeah, I think some of these companies, like Gearbox, like Take-Two, like Embracer, whatever, they're going to want to try to make more money somewhere else. But, again, if you make it well, whatever the medium is, whether it's a game or a TV show or a movie, it will sell well. Like, they're trying to change a different way to do entertainment, or they're trying a different facet of it, and it's not, it's not working, okay? It's not working, and they're just literally lighting money on fire, trying to do something else when they should just be making better quality. That's it, folks. Like, that's literally it. If any of you companies are freaking watching, it's literally just making better quality, and the leads of these companies, they need to understand that. So, gosh, it's just stupid. It really is. It's just stupid. Let me go ahead and change out my batteries here before my controller dies. Hopefully this also, too, doesn't screw up my audio, but we'll see. Let's see. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Actually sounds pretty good. Perfect. So we'll just edit that part out. That's around, 18 minutes? All right. Let's continue on. World of Warcraft devs, 500 have now unionized. We covered, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago, Bethesda employees were actually starting to unionize as well. And, yeah, they're just wishing to protect their job. They're seeing what's going on. They're seeing stuff with the voice acting, with the art creation, concept art. Even AI has been being able to code to some degree. And so, again, it's like, yeah, AI is really starting to dig into everything. And these companies, regardless of how we feel about them, good or bad, they will just always try to save money. That's how they make money. That's how they keep your job available. But yeah, when they start replacing your job to save money, of course we don't like that, right? That sucks. And but yeah, they're honestly worried about being outsourced to other countries or to AI. They've reported earlier about Bethesda unionizing, but I think unions will ultimately become more popular as AI takes jobs. as companies, again, continue to try to save money in some shape or form, whether it's with AI or outsourcing to other countries like Poland or Australia or something like that. Austria, excuse me. And people are just seeing the writing on the wall with more layoffs. Some of these companies, they're just not sustainable. They have to cut. We've seen this with Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. I mean, they're some of the biggest companies out there that make video games, and they've all had layoffs, and it sucks. Nintendo profits. This is a really big headline, and I have to cover this because there's definitely some sensationalism there. And I want to let you boys know that Nintendo is okay, but we're going to dig into the data here because I think this is really important to talk about. So yeah, Nintendo profits are down 55%, which is crazy. Really sounds like they're going broke, but this is comparing Q1 of 23 to Q1 of 24. So we're looking at the same time period, basically January through March. And looking at sales numbers. They have lost selling across all sectors. So this is like software, games, accessories, other peripherals, game consoles. Okay, they're losing across the board on everything. But I really think 55% is a stretch. And there's definitely some sensationalism. At first, it kind of made my red flag go up a little bit. It was like, well, aren't they going broke then? But like literally every source out there is parroting the same stuff, that they lost 55%. So I was like, well, let's actually look into the data. If you're interested, you can actually look all of this up for free at TradingView, and they're a wonderful platform for free. You can literally look up any company, currency, whatever. It's great. So taking a look is, Q1 23 to Q1 24, we do see basically a really big revenue drop. They made $3.2 billion in revenue. And to making $1.5 billion, which again is a 52% drop. Yes, that is definitely a lot, but net income was $1.25 billion to $500 million. Again, that was a 60% drop. That is huge. But when we take a look at their net margin, they made 39% net profit to 33% net profit. So their profit is still wonderful. It's still doing great. And the fact that they're making, whatever they put in, 33% comes back. Excuse me. All of that money comes back, plus an additional 33% as profit, is extremely impressive. That is only a 16% drop from 39% profit to 33% profit. So, again, it's like there's just some sensationalism going on. And honestly, Nintendo is doing great. Okay, that's really what you got to look at is net margin, but of course they're not wanting to do that. But, with 32.8% profit, that's huge. And that's also higher than the last 3 quarters. So their profit has been rising for the last 9 months. I mean, and they're becoming more efficient. Part of this is, too, with some of the layoffs they had, but they're also working on cutting costs somewhere else. And that's how they're ultimately saving money. And total liabilities for debt, it's also going down since Q2 of 23. So again, for the last 9-ish months, they've been paying down their debt, which is great. Debt to assets is 18.6%, and that's a really good standing for any company. Under 20%, that is immaculate. That is wonderful. That is so good. So take with what you hear with a grain of salt, folks, with what you read, including me. Okay, I'm not going to get everything right, and I'm all about critiquing. It doesn't always feel good to me, but I know that it's healthy. Okay, I know that it's good. Keeps me in check, keeps me accurate. And I think sharing information is a good way to get to what the truth is. And we should all focus on what the truth is. And truthfully, no matter how I no matter how I run the numbers, I can't find 55%. I can find 52, I can find 60%. But yeah, where the 55 came from, I have no idea. Well, I do have one idea. It could possibly, I guess, be the possible exchange rate. The yen has been losing value this year, a good chunk of it. But so yeah, it could have something to do with the exchange rate maybe, because what I'm seeing is in U.S. dollars, and what they're reporting in is in Japanese yen. So could have something to do with that. But yeah, sensationalism is really strong out there. We just need to remember that. And sensationalism, its goal is to manipulate always. And all of these companies are parroting this thing as if Nintendo is in serious trouble. And some of them, too, didn't even have the data. They just had some report that Nintendo put out for their quarterly earnings, and they're losing 55% revenue. And a lot of people think, wow, that's maybe from quarter to quarter or very recent. But no, that's taking a look over a 15-month period. And or a 12-month period, and they're doing fine. But yeah, the parroting was MSN, TechSpot, Variety, New York Post, CNBC, Games Industry Biz, Invez, AP News, Morningstar, Yahoo Finance. They all had the same headline. They all parroted the same thing without really digging into the data. A few of these did, which I appreciated, but it just sucks. Like, they know people read the headline, and that's that. And that's how we honestly get a lot of our misinformation in the world, folks, is because you guys don't actually read it. You guys also don't take time to research and study and look at other sources, or to look at the source data. And like I did, and this is why I have this channel. It's to look at the source data. It's to look at multiple sources of the same story. And this is why gaming news, it takes hours and hours for me to pour through all of this stuff. Like yesterday was around 7 hours just to do gaming news. I'm not even kidding. It was a lot. It was a lot to do 2 weeks of news. And but yeah, this is why I do it. It's because these companies, they should know better. The sensationalism is wrong. The manipulation is wrong, and it's misinforming users out there, and they are responsible. They are responsible for what their reader thinks, for what their viewer thinks. And it's the same with YouTube channels, too. Just about gaming. Again, the clickbait, and I really try not to do any of this stuff because it pisses me off. Okay, we need to have a better standard for the industry. We need to have truth in the industry instead of stretching and tweaking and manipulating things for your money. It's stupid. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And this is why I watch the reward shows, why I watch the showcases. Again, it's to really see and view and keep up with these industries and companies to see what's coming and to find out where the truth is. And that's my goal here. So if you like that aspect of it, like and sub, folks. Honestly, I am all about it. And then, too, some of you guys also keep me accurate. I don't always get it right. And you guys share that. And then when I've done something wrong, it goes in the next week for Gaming News Consolidated, and I share a correction. Because, again, truth is important, folks, because if we live our lives off of a lie, our life is horrible. It really is. It is just an awful mess. So let's move on. Meta is still losing a ton of money on VR. This last quarter, with their earnings report, they lost $4.5 billion, and this is actually up. They're losing more quarter over quarter. They used to be in the $3 billion, $3.5 billion range, and now they're in the $4 billion range. And they just keep losing money. So as a company, they're fine. Okay, they're making a ton of money there. But again, they've dumped $45 billion into metaverse and VR, and it's just not making any profit. And they're just lighting it on fire. And expect just for the rest of this year another $8 billion. That is insane. That is insane. And that's just for the rest of this year. And with all of that money, okay, this is about $53 billion. With all of that money, you could buy Nintendo twice. You could buy PlayStation. Not the Sony part, but you could buy PlayStation twice. The whole value of PlayStation. You could also buy Xbox almost 5 times with that. I don't know if those numbers include Game Pass, because again, there'd be like an extra $7 billion from Game Pass attached to that. Which then you could buy about 2.5 times. But, think about that money. You could buy EA. Let's see, what is EA? You could buy EA 5 times. You could buy Ubisoft a dozen times. I mean, it's insane. Yeah, it's insane, folks. It's It's crazy. I'd have to check up EA and Ubisoft. Those are just off the top of my head. But Meta can't really do this forever. They are burning through so much cash. They could do so much better with the money that they're earning. And, gal, I just can't. Yeah. Eventually, something's got to change. Eventually, departments, sectors, companies, they have to be profitable. Otherwise, they're just not going to exist anymore. Let's see. Borderlands movie we already did. Let's see. Oh, another delay. Avowed is going to be delayed now until February of 2025. They're not necessarily worried about the quality of their game. They're saying that it's because they also have Black Ops 6 and Indiana Jones coming out around the same time period as Avowed, and they want those to actually do well. Well, they want all three of them to do well, but Avowed is the one that's being pushed back because probably more people are excited for Black Ops 6 and Indiana Jones with what they're seeing, and so they're pushing the least popular one that they can see back a few months, and that's going to be Avowed. So, and also give them more time to, tweak stuff to do things. But again, remember, folks, all three of these games, they're all made by the same company. They're all owned by Microsoft. And, they want all of their games to be profitable. And two, they also want to make sure they space out stuff for Game Pass. If Game Pass is going to be a big sale, they need to be able to kind of drip things into Game Pass at a fairly consistent rate with, AAA, AA, and indie titles so that there's content and there's a wide swath of or broadening of the viewer base or the consumer base that they can get to. Because, again, if you get everything all at once, you tend to not play some things that maybe you normally would. You have less engagement that way. And then you also just have these these droughts of nothing to play, and so they're just trying to be smart about it. But yeah, hopefully they will use their time well to polish Avowed and continue to make it better or improve things. Because again, they have now almost an entire year to they have about 8-9 months now to actually get their game good. So yeah, hopefully they do that. THQ Nordic had a showcase, and again, I did not review this one. But we did find out that we might actually be getting a new Darksiders that is actually in development. The old series it originated back in 2010, so it's pretty old. We're looking at 14 years here. And two, if you're curious, there is a Darksiders bundle that Lion and I saw on the Xbox Game Store, and you can get the entire bundle for Outsiders. Looks like all of the games and also some of the DLCs too, and you can get all of it for like $15. So yeah, it's cheap. Check out your digital store. There's also some other really good sales going on right now, whether you have Game Pass or not. And just take a look. Just take a check at the stores. They're doing some wonderful sales, even though there's no holiday, there's no Black Friday. I still think, again, companies are definitely hurting for money, but getting a new Darksiders would actually be really cool. There's also something, too, that I came across. This isn't in my news, but I'm just putting this in there, is that ZeniMax, which is owned, again, by Microsoft, ZeniMax renewed the trademark and the licensing for the Evil Within IP back in August of 2020. And so, while we don't have any confirmation that there's actually a game in development or something like that, or that it's even going to be a game, they probably are working on something. Because, again, you don't re-register a trademark. You don't, pay the fees for it if you plan to actually use it or do something with it. So, again, we don't know if it's a game. We don't know if it's VR. We don't know if it's a movie, a TV show. We don't know. I want to emphasize that. But yeah, we could be getting another Evil Within game, which I think that's exciting. I definitely do. GameStop is shutting down GameiNFORMER. This is a magazine that GameStop had. GameiNFORMER, probably most of us that are in our 20s know what GameiNFORMER is. And the physical copies and the magazines and because they ran for 33 years. They started in 1991. I started in 90, so I've been reading these for a long time. And yeah, it's just crazy to see that Game Informer is no more. And this was very abrupt. GameStop called them all in for a meeting over Zoomy, whatever, and just told them right there, hey, you're done. You're not working on anything else now. And this was, again, 12, 13 employees. At one point, they were up to 40 employees working at Game Informer, and now there's just that. And now there's zero, actually. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube, there's on Twitter and Instagram and wherever talking about this. And Game Informer's website is also shut down. Social media accounts are also shut down. And it's just kind of insane that, that this just is no more. And there's no way to archive any of this. I mean, we got to think of the thousands of issues that they did. I mean, just take 12 times 33 years. That's, oh man. Well, maybe hundreds of issues. Let's see, what's the math on that? I'm curious. I'll do this in real time. Yeah, we're looking at almost 400 issues of keeping up with news and keeping us informed, which was really the goal. And even the main editor there was there for 29 years. They've had a few editors since then. But yeah, when he left, I was like, oh man. And this was McNamara. Andy McNamara was the editor-in-chief for 29 years. And when he left, I knew that they were in trouble. Excuse me. And here they finally go. You know, it's finally over. So they are trying to archive everything that they can from the last 33 years of the magazine. They're asking for help on Reddit. So if you guys are interested, or you have some of these magazines, or you have the old emails, and you are subscribed to GameStop, etc., see if you can find it on Reddit and get in contact with them and help them save all of these magazines. Because I think it's a really cool piece of history. Because again, it's like we don't really have physical CDs anymore. The movie industry, in TV shows, we don't really have physical media anymore. We don't have physical magazines. We don't have physical subscriptions. Like, physicality is just disappearing, folks. And that's real. Even our malls that are physical are disappearing because we do most of our shopping online now. And it's just sad to see this stuff go. And there is something to be said for holding it in your hand and actually reading it or picking it up off the shelf and seeing it and buying it. And yeah, I think for most of us it will be too late to realize how important that is. But again, some people too, they'll never know because they've never read a physical magazine. Most of us don't even read books anymore. It's a problem for books too. Publication companies. But yeah, it's just really sad. Yeah, it just shows that physical games, they're not the only thing that's disappearing. Anything that can be digitized is physically disappearing. And again, with this digitization, we're not going to own it anymore. We're going to have access to it. And I think, too, we need to really understand that as one of the biggest problems with no more physical is of whatever it is. With no more physical, we're just, we're not just, we don't own it anymore. Because, they say 9/10 of ownership is possession. And if you don't possess it, you don't really own it. That's why I don't lease a car. That's why I don't rent. I like owning my stuff. Is there some risk there for me? Yeah. Does it cost more upfront? Yeah, it does. But like, I got a big house that I'm paying $1,450 a month for in 2024 that we bought in 2017, and rent around here is $2,000, $2,500. Yeah, it's crazy for half the space. Like, I wish I was kidding. But, yeah, we're saving a ton of money. So people, I think, too, they're starting to figure that out, that ownership long-term is actually cheaper. Well, again, whatever it is. Because, again, it's just like Game Pass. You can pay for Game Pass. I buy Game Pass not to own this stuff. But, again, if you're paying, $200 a year to play this particular game over multiple years, you just literally spent like almost $1,000 for this particular game you play instead of just buying it. Like, that sounds really ridiculous. What I buy Game Pass for is the constant flow of new games to play. That's what I buy it for. And ultimately, it's cheaper for all of the games that I want to play just right now to have the service, even with the price increase. But, yeah, all of that's in another video if you're interested. Moving on, let's see. Bungie is having some major layoffs. Major layoffs. And so, yeah, the new head of PlayStation that replaced Ryan visited Bungie a few months ago. And after hearing that, Destiny 2 also had lost 45%. Had lost 45% in revenue in 2023. And that also, too, Lightfall didn't sell very well. We're finding out now, too, from some ex-Bungie employees that also the Final Shape didn't sell very well. The Final Shape actually sold less than Lightfall did. Ooh, that's bad. That's really bad. But yeah, per sale, Sony thought that Bungie was able to run itself. They were able to keep everybody, and as long as they were hitting those sales goals, and that's not the case anymore. Again, with the Final Shape not doing well. And two, the decision for layoffs was before the Final Shape. Yeah, it was probably because of that revenue loss of 45%. It's like, yep, you guys are done. Like, we're going to have to change some things, and we're going to take you over. And now we're going to run Bungie. So again, just to reiterate, Sony bought them for $3.6 billion. And honestly, that was way too much. So now we're having new layoffs. 220 are being fired. They will be given us some sort of pretty good severance package, I guess. But I've never had severance, so I don't know what that's like. Excuse me. 155 are being moved and integrated over the next several months into Sony Entertainment. And then 75 are being moved to a new studio to work on a project that has sat in incubation for a while. So we don't know much about that new studio. We don't know much about the project, except for that it's some type of sci-fi thing. Okay? Like Destiny is sci-fi. But again, will it be Destiny? Will it be a multiplayer? We don't know. We have no idea, so I'll keep you guys up to date on that. And it's not Marathon. That's already being worked on. But yeah, when we take a look at the numbers, we're going from 1,300 employees at Bungie to now 850. And that's a 35% loss in people working on now what's left of Destiny and the new Marathon game. Could you imagine losing 35%? That'd be crazy. There will be a deep dive later. I'll link this later. This will be done as a State of Gaming. But there's a lot of linkage between live service, Sony, Bungie, Ryan, and the new CEOs at PlayStation. So there's a lot actually there to unpack. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming probably next week or in a couple of weeks. So yeah, ex-employees at Bungie, this is also just another piece of that news, is that since they're not working there anymore, they don't have to be quiet about it. But again, yeah, Destiny's Final Shape, even though it was really good and people liked it, it actually sold less than Lightfall, which is insane. And that really shows, too, I think, that once Lightfall happened, that was really kind of the nail in the coffin. And I think, too, a big part of that also had to do with Marathon being announced by Bungie. And it's like, well, if they're working on Marathon, they're not going to be working on Destiny. And we're not going to get any more of these big DLC drops every 12 months. We're going to have smaller drops of content just to grind, really. Not going to push the story much. It's just a worse quality project. Worse quality product. And again, I don't think Marathon's going to be wonderful either. But yeah, we don't know the exact numbers of actual sales, and we also don't know the employee either, but this is confirmed as an ex-employee of Bungie, according to Steven Totillo of GameFile. So if you're interested, you can go look up some more news on that. But that's a fairly credible source. At least it's more credible knowing who it's coming from and where they work and all that stuff. Like, they're literally attaching their name to this and putting this out there. But yeah, it just shows, too, that Bungie is going to continue to lose revenue because, again, even with the delay of the Final Shape, people were just generally done by the time Lightfall and the announcement of Marathon and, hey, we're not going to have any big releases anymore after the Final Shape. People are just like, okay, I'm done. And, yeah, that sucks. That sucks. They have a serious problem. And I think there will always be a core people that play Destiny. And I don't think everybody is either going to switch at Marathon. I think some will be curious about it, so I think the Marathon numbers might actually be pretty good in the beginning. But, after 3 months, I don't think people are really going to care. Because there's already other games maybe they're playing, like Warzone, that's free, or like Overwatch 2, that's free. Valorant would be another one. I mean, Apex Legends. There's other shooters out there, and if that's what they're making, oh my gosh, it's just horrible. Like, they really could have done something wonderful with Marathon, because there's a lot of lore there. These were games that were made in like the early 90s for PC, and they could have been great. They really could have been great. But yeah, they're not going it that way. They're just, again, doing another live service. Where? Yep. I personally don't care. There's a lot of other people that don't care either. And yeah, it just sucks. It just sucks. Xbox's ecosystem. It's honestly getting pretty big. But I don't think we can call it Xbox ecosystem anymore. I think we now have to call it the Microsoft ecosystem. So when we add Xbox, when we add PC Game Pass, when we add Activision Blizzard users for COD and Diablo 4, and when we add King Mobile, which they have announced a app store for Xbox, and again, this is just like more quieter, mobile, softer, games and smaller games, and when we add all of this up for monthly active users, we're looking at over 500 million. 500 million. Now, of course, let me preface this. Some of these are that, yeah, okay, they're going to have an Xbox, they're going to have the App Store, or they're already playing like with a backbone or something through their phone. There's going to be the same person having multiple accounts, but generally, if you have an account, you're probably spending money on it. To some degree. You're paying for a service, you bought a cheap game, you're buying small microtransactions, something. So to have 500 million monthly active users using your stuff, that is insane. And how insane is this? Well, we know that there's about 150 million on Xbox. So this would be on 360 before the store closed. This would be on Xbox One. This would also be on Series X and Series S. So again, 150 million monthly active users. That's a ton. But again, we don't know how many were because of people hopping on their 360 and buying all of this stuff for cheap before the store officially closed. And again, I don't even know if that's a part of the data, but this stuff is fairly recent. This is this year. But yeah, of course, some of these will be doubles. So, some, it'll be the same person with multiple accounts across different devices. But 500 million is huge. PlayStation has about 120 million across PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I was curious, too, how much Steam had. Steam has 132 million. So they're several times bigger than Steam. They're 3 times bigger than Steam. Think of that. That is wild. That is wild. How many monthly active users? And whether you think, it's just mobile, that really doesn't matter. It's just Game Pass. I don't have it. I don't really care. The reality is that they have 500 million accounts that are probably giving them money, to some degree. And that is a ton of money. And every single source, except for selling physical consoles, they're actually making profit on. Everything else they're making profit on. A lot of their games and software, their subscription services, their mobile stuff. Activision Blizzard will have to make a lot of money for a while to make that 69 billion back. But everything, according to them, actually looks pretty good. And again, I got to emphasize this too: is that Xbox, according to Microsoft, is just a little hash mark. It's a hash mark on their earnings call. They talk about it for 20 seconds, and that's it. I mean, they really don't mention Xbox much at all. Xbox's revenue this year, so far, has been around... this was last year. This is 2023. It's been about $11 billion last year. But again, I don't know if this includes Game Pass. Because, again, Game Pass, just by the numbers itself, is about $7 billion. So we can look at if we do include if it doesn't include a Game Pass, we can look at 18 billion. And again, I don't know if this includes all of the mobile stuff either. So trying to get these numbers down for Microsoft is actually extremely difficult because they have so many different facets. They're across multiple platforms, etc. But again, 500 MAUs, 500 million MAUs. That is just insane. And honestly, if I was going to buy and be a part of an ecosystem and chat with my friends about what was more important or where the big stuff is going to be coming from, I honestly would be going with Xbox for the next-gen console. Because of all of the IPs that they own. All of their IPs pretty much making money for the most part, except for Redfall, and the partnerships that they have with other third-party studios putting stuff on Game Pass. And we'll probably get GTA 6. I'm not even kidding. I mean, we already had GTA 5 on there. All of the discounts you get also, too, with Game Pass. The mobile app store for games you just kind of want to chill on, or maybe some of the older retro stuff that can play on your phone. Xbox certainly is not perfect, but it's if you really want the best console, I guess, don't get a console, get a PC. Your most freedom and cheap cost there for software and games is definitely on Steam. But when we're looking at where people are going to be, what part of the ecosystem they're going to be, the bulk of it is going to be Xbox, I think. And again, I think people need to understand, I've tried saying this multiple times, is that people need to understand that Xbox, and when Phil Spencer said, hey, we're not focused on consoles anymore, so many people made fun of them, so many people laughed at them, made memes about it. Hey, they're failing. No, folks. They're not Xbox anymore. They're Microsoft Gaming. It's Microsoft Gaming. It's not just Xbox. It is vastly bigger than that. Again, 500 million. That's a 16th of the world, folks. The world is just over 8 billion people. And if we assigned each one of those to somebody, that's 16% of the world's population. While everybody else is at like 5% or less. I want that to sink in. Again, I want that to sink in. Xbox and Microsoft are going to make a ton of money getting into all of these facets, and I think the rest of the companies, I think they're going to be playing catch-up. And when they realize how big Xbox and Microsoft is getting in gaming, when they understand this, they're going to be like, hey, can we get on Game Pass? Hey, can we make a partnership with your company to get it to Xbox and to PC players? And I mean, I really think that's going to happen, folks. And I've been trying to get this out there since 2023. And I think people are, again, I don't think everybody's quite woken up yet, but I think eventually we're going to get there. So thanks for tuning in for the news, folks. If you already clicked off, bummer, because I still have August games to talk about that are coming out this month. Again, I know this is, what is today? August 12th. This is pretty late, but just to recap for folks of what's happening for games this month. We got Star Wars Bounty Hunter. I did an initial look on that. It is pretty rough. Again, it's $30. I think it's $30. And it would be worth, somewhere between 10 and 20 to replay the nostalgia to have a game to play. Because, again, it's just retexturing. It's not redoing models. It's not redoing camera work. It's not redoing any of that kind of thing. So it's good for what it is. Pay it, but buy it cheap. That was August 1st. Valorant for consoles came out August 2nd. Again, they're also seeing not enough revenue coming in, expenses going up, and so they're wanting to bring it to more stuff. This is also on Game Pass. We just got a remaster, basically, of Doom 1 and 2 for current consoles. This was also August 2nd. Madden 25 is August 16th, just 4 days from now. Black Myth Wukong is August 20th. Concord, boo. God, that game is just such a waste of time and money. August 23rd. Lord of the Rings Return to Moria is August 27th. We have Visions of Mana, August 29th, and Star Wars Outlaws on August 30th, which we'll be showing here on the channel. We'll be doing an initial look. We'll be doing a full review as I plan on playing the majority, if not all, of the game, and we'll also be buying the DLC, the narrative DLCs, when they come out and show them here on the channel, because again, we're doing pretty much a full review of this thing because you guys voted for it. So every January I put out some polls for the month where you guys can vote on vote on YouTube at Gaming Garbage 22, and I let you guys, out of a selection of games I would be interested in playing, I let you guys vote on which one you'd like. And this year, by one vote, you guys voted for Star Wars Outlaws. So I'll be showing that here on the channel. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Hopefully you guys are having a good time and surviving the summer and the heat and the humidity and wherever you are. As you can tell, I'm certainly trying to get over sickness. My wife is too now. I've been hanging on to this for a few months. Just go into the backlogs of my channel and you can hear me coughing and stuff. But I do feel like I'm getting better. Got a bunch of stuff coming up. I'm getting better overall. But yeah, life isn't any less busy or any cheaper. It's just tough out there all around. I got people and friends that I know of that are getting layoffs. I know people that are using food banks. I know people that are having their cars die on them, and they're like, I don't have the money to fix it. And yeah, people struggling. I know of even some friends last week. They're looking to actually buy a place because they've been living in a trailer for most of this year. And I mean, it's rough around, folks. It's rough on everybody. So take time to check in with people. Say hi. Okay, initiate. Text people. Okay, it's simple. It's free to you. It costs nothing except like 20 seconds of your time. And just reach out to people, because the best thing you can invest in this life, folks, is relationships. It really is. And hopefully, too, August 25th, we're going to be having our next COD event again. It'll be Modern Warfare 2, the original, and from over a decade ago. And we'll be playing on Xbox, and hopefully you guys can join us. It'll be a private server so that we can keep out hackers and whatever, and not risk people's information or data. And but yeah, the point is just to come have fun, okay? It's not about performance. Just connect. Just connect with folks. Looks like we'll have more than just 3 of us this time, and I'm excited to share that with y'all. And hopefully, if you can't make it this time, 25th on Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, hopefully you can make it next month, and we'll let you know what it is in September. And with that, folks, hopefully you guys are doing awesome. Thanks for being a part of the channel. It's just been fun meeting some of you, talking with some of you, playing with some of you, commenting with y'all. It's just, what a privilege to get to know you folks. Seriously, makes me tear up a little bit. It's been so fun doing the channel. And with that, folks, I'll see you guys on the next one.